Wednesday, everybody. You're on Intervision FM. Welcome to the Intervision FM universe. Today with Johnnie J, President and Station Manager, Intervision FM. Stick with us today. You're going to be real surprised. There's some really cool topics that we got to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, demasculation. Is it happening to our population? Let's find out. These and other topics today on Intervision FM. Welcome to the Intervision FM universe.
Oh my God.
Yes, that's who we love and that's who we serve. Intervision FM. Yeah. Get out and vote. There's less than a week to go.
And stay with it and hit it. Okay, thank you very much.
Yes. Well, as the show is, and if you live in Colorado, go to Heidi Goodell, and I learned how to spell it because it's Heidi. This is the lady who's running for governor, Hedi, and then Ganell, Ganahl event page, and she's having an event this afternoon at 6 p.m., which I'm going to be at, and she's going to be there with the lieutenant governor, with her running partner that she chose with, lieutenant, and so I'm going to be out there, and so we want to invite you to be out there, but you have to sign up first, and this is not going to be a gun-free zone. So if you're going to come out there and do some shenanigans, you will probably be met with a deterrent. So yeah, we want you to come out, and she's going to be talking. It's going to be about 90 minutes from 6 to 7:30. So we want to invite you to that this afternoon. So go up to our website, sign up, so they'll know you're coming. You just can't show up at the door, or they're going to have you stand outside and put in your information so we'll know who's all in this meeting. So don't just think you're just going to bum rush and go and come out there and just walk in and say, "Oh, I didn't know that," because I told you that. And I'm going to let Casper Stockham know that as well. He's the one sponsoring this. So, hi, Alan.
Well, that's definitely some housekeeping right there. First Amendment, Second Amendment, looks like those are basically being exercised to their fullest extent. So, yeah, I mean, like Johnnie J said here, do drop by, but make sure you RSVP first. Now,
Yes.
Jay, who are you? You are running for House District number 5. And so this is in Denver, Colorado. And do you have opposition? Do you have somebody running?
Yes, Alice Valdez, and then I forgot the guy who he's the libertarian. But you could read about that on the Denver North Star newspaper, where it gives his points and everything like that. But yeah, just Alice Valdez, and my problem with him is he has a solar company, and he sponsored a bill that will make it law in January 2023 that people will be forced to buy solar panels for new buildings, housing, and the cost of a house is expensive enough. Now they got a regulation that says by law you have to have solar panels on any new houses or any new businesses that is built from January 23rd, 2023 on.
So the interesting thing about this is this law covers all new housing that goes up, and does it cover existing housing? Like, do you have to get is it a situation where you're grandfathered in, or do you pretty much have to take advantage of some of these solar home improvements for existing homes?
Well, as far as what I've read in the bill, I'm not sure if it's retro or not. I just know that from that point on, it goes forward. But of course, there's already these solar panel companies popping up, and what they don't tell you is once the paneling wears out, and they will wear out. We got them from China, but we don't send them back to China to dump them in their landfill. We have to find a landfill here, and they don't. What is that? What is that called when they disintegrate?
Well, they don't
They're not-
that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yes.
Solar panels of any type do not biodegrade.
Right.
So it is a very interesting gig right there. Something else that's also a fun fact is the idea that the way that this law was written, we have to purchase the solar panel material from this guy's company. Is that right?
Yes. And
Wow.
there's another one out there, but he'll get access to the phone numbers first because he's just in that loop, and
I
then
see.
so before his competition gets there, which I only know of one other, he'll have them in their hands in his hand, and he could get the contract first.
So here's the analogy, folks. It's kind of like when you're in junior high school and you get first introduced to student council. You decide, hey, I'm running for this office for student council. We're going to put chocolate milk in the water fountains, and you guys can drink just chocolate milk in the water fountains. Everybody knows that chocolate milk doesn't have too much calcium in it, so in the long run, if you drink chocolate milk for 4 years, you're going to be you're not going to be in a great place. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But of course, all 7th and 8th graders, they love chocolate milk. And in this fictitious high school or junior high school that we're talking about, everybody goes to school in the 7th grade through to the 12th grade in this fictitious example. So you get chocolate milk, you get it put in the water fountains, and this goes ahead and this takes effect about midway through the school year. So you got chocolate milk, and it's getting produced and disseminated only by this one person's company. So not only does this person win and get into student council because he ran on this platform, suddenly the children are all hopped up on chocolate milk. And you got to wonder, years down the line, why we got all these kids freaking out on chocolate milk. It's a similar analogy.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a reach there, but what I'm saying.
And want to give a shout out to Bryce. He's just liked our show here. I think
Hey,
he's watching it on Facebook.
He used to know a guy by the name of Bryce. He was in Hawaii. So Bryce, if that's you, this guy's from Hawaii, so I learned a lot about Hawaiian culture from the kid. And man, I'll tell you, during the lockdowns, during the pandemic and stuff, when things first started getting lifted, why we went to church. And we hung out and did a bunch of cool stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about First John chapter 1, verses 19 and 20 again. You know what? I don't have that queued up right now.
Oh yeah. Oh, no, okay. You had something you wanted to play? Oh, yeah, okay. Well,
Interesting.
you're gonna you cut out there for a second.
Yeah, we had another brownout, dude.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we had another brownout. So yeah. Anyway, First John chapter 1, verse 19 and 20. Do you have that queued? Like I said.
Voice isn't coming over,
What?
Alan.
We had another brownout. Wow.
Wow.
Can you hear
That's
me?
crazy. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I hear you.
Ah, okay.
Right. Oh, wow. Anyway, Do you have 1 John 19:20? Do you remember what that's about?
Oh, it's just concerning like the brothers who say that you love God, but you don't love your brother that you can see, but you say you love a God that you can't see, that the truth is not in you.
We covered that yesterday a little bit,
Yeah.
folks. So do check that out. It's the idea that we have to conquer this with love, and we have to get out there and just get the job done, using that full armor of God, walking first in the preparation of the gospel of peace, with those shoes that are provided by God, having that shield of faith high, the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, which hangs upon the belt of truth. And we're protected by the breastplate of righteousness, which protects our hearts, keeps them from breaking during these times, and the helmet of salvation that protects our minds. So, with all this stuff said, everything hinges upon love. Everything hinges upon God is love. And yeah, I just lost my train of thought here.
Yeah, but understandable. I also wanted to. Oh, we got to thank our sponsors before you get too far off in there. Yeah,
sorry about the technology here.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. I mean, when technology goes down on my side, then you cover. So I'll do the same for you. We want to thank Christian Brothers Moving, who is located in Englewood, Colorado. They also do moving in Texas and in Phoenix, Arizona. So we want to thank them for sponsoring a year of our shows. And then we want to thank Dr. Richard Damiano, who came in and helped us out with some funding for the show. Then the Denver Foundation, Wells Fargo, and the Colorado Arts Relief Fund. I finally remembered it after all these weeks. Them as well. And then we also ask, subscribe and share. I know right now YouTube is sort of submerging our reach, but Twitter, you're kicking butt. I mean, I was getting so many people subscribing. I said, but who are all these people? They were the people that weren't allowed to see my tweets or the show live because we were a conservative based show by blind guys, and so the powers that be, which must fire those guys, and it's going to fire about 25% of those guys who think there's no free speech allowed in that playground. That unleashed us, and so we just started getting subscriber. Of course, we're on Rumble as well. I just uploaded some shows on our TV show, Channel 56, here in Denver yesterday. And we're going to keep on trucking, whether we get these high counts or not. We're going to just keep counting, keep trucking on. So, do support us with paypal.me/InnervisionDenver. That's paypal.me/InnervisionDenver. And you can also give us a super chat on this platform. We're monetizing, and also on Rumble too, because we're on Rumble, and you can support us that way too. And so yes, okay, I'm running for HT5, but I was looking at some stuff, and people, this is one of the reasons why the red wave is coming about, because when I was a Democrat, I took a walk in a wild side a few times, but I never did say, well, because I did that, I want to expose your children to that. When I did that, I didn't never say, well, let me get in a position where I can put that in front of your children, because my mother, my dad, they said, let them be children first. And they have plenty of time. Yeah, plenty of time. Plenty of time to go out there and see all those other things, but let them be children first. And the Democratic Party, this is all of a big plan, because I was listening to Judge Joe Brown, and I'm going to tell you what the show was, so you'll know, because I wrote it down. It's called Judge Joe Brown, and he was on the V Hip Hop Show.
Okay.
And then that led Facebook to show me this other video. And we're going to talk about that. I'm going to put that in the description after the show's over. It's the Van Lathan and Talib, KWELI, discuss his TMZ, people's on this party clip. And it was 3 years ago. And it was a conversation he had with Kanye West. And Kanye West said, I said, should I start with Judge Joe Brown? Well, let's do Kanye West. Kanye West said that, the KKK started with the Democrats. And the guy said, he dismissed it, said, oh, no way. But then I'm thinking, like, because they have dumbed down our children, he didn't know that the Civil War was started because the South wanted to continue that. And the North and Abraham Lincoln said, no, the freak time is over. And we're going to start treating people like human beings rather than like horses or cattle or something inanimate that you can just have carte blanche to do whatever you want with these people and not see them as human beings. And
because the United States Constitution was supposed to be the death knell of slavery. Eventually, when it was first ratified back in 1787, there were rumblings of getting rid of slavery altogether. And it wasn't until about 1860, 1861, when we started into the Civil War, that an interesting dichotomy happened. It was known as the War of Northern Aggression, where the North and the textile-based industry, the Industrial Revolution was taking place. That slavery came up as a situation where it had to be abolished. So there was good and bad on both sides. You had the slave owners that had plantations and just wanted to protect their wealth, much like a lot of folks want to protect their wealth today. But it is interesting because back in those days, to protect your wealth, you had to have a healthy slave trade, which eventually had to become extinct. In order for equality to take place, somebody had to make a stand. And so just like today, back in the day, Republicans were looked at as, well, forerunners. We'll just put it that way. They had some ideas that were really good. Let's get rid of slavery. But some not so good things happen. That's why it's important to study all of history and to destroy it.
I got to put this in there. Did you know there was a group back then called the Wiggers?
Yes.
Yes. And I was just thinking about that. I had remember studying this in high school. These were guys, because a lot of people ask me, like, why do black women wear wigs? Well, back then, men wore wigs. And it was, and it didn't matter if it was hot or cold. And they weren't black men wearing wigs. These are white guys wearing wigs. So I have white friends who said, "Oh, why do black women wear wigs?" Probably the same reason the white guys wore wigs, because it's a fashion statement and whatever. But when the Republicans got in, that's almost like demolished the Wiggers, and they so now it just became the Democrats and the Republicans, and then the Wiggers became the third party. And you know what happens to the third parties? They get less and less as time goes on. But I want to talk about this is Judge Joe Brown. That's what kicked off all the stuff about have the Democrats. I hear people say, well, the days Democrats are not like the Democrats of the 60s. Well,
right.
I'm going to have to push back on that, because there was something called the Dixiecrats that were still in the party today. And they were like, either KK members and or that kind of stuff. And yes, I would say, like, yes, that still exists in the Democratic Party. But Judge Joe Brown, he was saying something. He brought up a part of the history, because on this TMZ,
This interview from TMZ.
yeah, these rappers or whatever they were on the van. I'm gonna get the name of. I'm gonna say the Van Lathan and Talib Kweli. Well, Kweli is discussing with them, but on that show, they were saying that they were okay. Let me that show. But when I was listening to Judge Joe Brown, he was saying like, how do you break these strong men? Because some of them, these guys were like strong mandigos and all that kind of stuff. But how do you break them? And it's almost like this guy came along, and I didn't get the name of the guy who did, came along, and he said, you break him like you break a horse. First, you have to break the female, right? Then the female, any children that comes after that, the female teaches this is how you act with this person that's riding you. It passes down. So they took the same kind of concept and they said, okay, how do we break the strongest of these Mandingo or these black men? Okay, well, first you want to observe them first. And he wrote a whole pamphlet, and he would go throughout the South selling these pamphlets on how you break slaves, which, man, I didn't even know this. I mean, Judge Joe Brown, man, he's a deep guy. So he says, so for what you first do, you let them play, go wild and all that kind of stuff, and you see who is the most dominant one. Then you take two out of that, the top two dominant ones, you kill one. Then the other one, you bring the kids and the women all together, and then you demasculate them by doing homosexual acts to that one in front of all the kids, and then you cripple that one, but then you say, you're the stud, you can have sex with any women, but now you're crippled, you're demasculized. This is history, Natalia, of America. You demasculized them, and now you got control of the other ones because they saw that, well, we don't want that to happen to us. So the women teaches the boys, don't get on master's bad side because he'll screw you in the rear like he did that guy. And you saw that, and he will cripple you like he did that guy. And you may have all the sex you want, but you'll be a cripple for the rest of your life. And so now let's bring it forward to now.
Okay.
You got Paulus saying, let's put sex education in schools for 5-year-olds, right? Because we want to get them sexualized. But let's also bring these guys dressed up as women into the school and read stories to 5-year-olds, 6 years old. And so they can say, oh, well, why do you dress up as women and stuff like that? And so now you got these kids looking at this guy dressed up as a woman, pretending to be a woman. So now you're trying to demasculinize the boys because you're saying in order to fit in, you got to be able to dress like a woman, even though you're not a woman. So go ahead.
It's an old story of boy meets girl. Boy falls in love with girl. Girl ends up telling boy, this is the way it needs to be, because instead of woman holding the power of creation, the power of logical reasoning and thought, as well as some emotional stuff, she is taught that she is the end all and the be all. Instead, the idea where men and women are to work together as working units of the body of Christ, bringing both creation and positive thought, this kind of stuff, and emotion, sensitivity, this stuff, and also innovation.
And there's an order in nature. There's an order.
Yes.
Men have capabilities. Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
I know men have capabilities. We're stronger on our upper body. Women are stronger the lower part of the body. That was meant by design. Exactly. And now you got these guys saying, well, women, you could be, and when I used to see this with the women's liberation, women, you could be better than a man. You can raise kids better than men. You don't need a man. And I'm thinking like, wow, I hope nobody is really listening to this, because there must be a reason why they want like a husband and wife to be a part of raising that child, because you get the yin and the yang. But
Right.
you hear this radicalness in the 60s saying, women, get free love, get rid of men. You can, and then men developed the pill. Men developed the safer way of how to kill your baby. Men discovered all these ways to break down the inhibitors of women saying, no, I can't have sex, because if I have a baby, then who's going to, if you're not willing to buy the cow with the milk, you're not going to get the milk. But because the dad was there saying, hey, boy, if you're going to mess with my daughter, you better be serious about this, because my daughter's just not there to be your slut. I'm looking for a husband for my daughter. And so, but then you got the hippie moment, where you had this commune, and you had all these women, and led by one man. He was a stud, right? And he had other guys, but those guys were weaker than him, and he had to prove these other guys that they wanted to get in top. He had to prove himself by fighting off the first guy. So you had all these women following this one guy, and it was his rules, right? But but somehow women got it twisted and thought that, oh, the guy, they really want us to be empowered. They want us to be strong and better than them. And so there we are. We're going to get high education, and we're going to get paid more than these guys, and we're going to demasculate our husband by saying, I make more money than you, therefore you have to listen to my rules. And this is all like a preset came from the Democrats saying, how do we, communists and the liberals saying, how do we get control of the strong men in this? And if you remember, like Dave Chappelle, and they wanted him to wear a dress on one of his comedy things. And he said, hey, I don't feel comfortable with that. I'm not going to do that. And they kept pushing it, and they kept pushing it. And then finally they said they gave up. And then, they took the dress away, and he didn't do that. But they were kind of really convincing that, hey, all men, like Flip Wilson, when he was doing his TV show, he dressed up as a woman. It was a Black comedian back in the 60s. He had his own TV show. And people didn't know that it was a man, because they thought, GLT must be a real woman. But it turned out it was a man, Flip Wilson, with some good legs, who knew how to act like a woman. Right? And just step by step.
Also in there. So that's interesting. Wow.
Yeah. That's what I said when I heard Judge Joe Brown. And Judge Joe Brown, maybe I got to see if I got his phone number. I want to see if he'll come on our show, because with Judge Joe Brown, I mean, he has a high IQ. This guy, he was making millions as a judge on TV, and then he decided on his terms that he didn't want to do this anymore, right?
Right.
And they came after him, and I guess now he's running for a position as a mayor, where I think he's in North Carolina now. But I should see if I can, since I got his number, get him on the show, because he's doing the show with Dana, the real Dana, and he does a few other shows as well. But I'm gonna work on that, and then I'm gonna try to get Ye. I'm gonna really try my best to get his attention, because I would love to get him on the show as well. But yeah, we're talking about, like, yeah, I'm running for HD5, but like I said, our show is a variety show. I'm looking for your vote for this coming Saturday. This is the last weekend. I'm going to be at this event tonight that Casper Stockman is sponsoring. So we want you to go to Hadi Ganel events, sign up for that. You just can't show up, and because they're going to make you stand outside and sign up, because we need your information. We just don't want people just walking in at random. This is not going to be another one of those hip hop things that happen in Texas, where you don't know who's there around you, And this will not be a gun-free zone like King Supers, where the little nerd came in there and just picked off people. This is so we're not going to have any shenanigans. You're going to get a chance to meet Heidi Cannell and her running partner, and she's going to ask some questions from 6 o'clock until 7:30, and I'm going to mingle and get to know some of the people in the community as well. So anyway. Yes.
Well, just pray for your safety and the safety of everybody down there tonight. The
Oh, yeah.
name of Lord Jesus Christ needs to be permeating all of society as it once did. And the
Mm.
reason for that being is the fact that God set up all these institutions and he
Mhm.
puts into power those that he wants to have into power.
Mhm.
So, in one sense, our votes absolutely matter. So, don't forget to get out and vote.
Mhm.
And don't forget, it's probably best to go ahead and turn in your ballots the day of the election, simply so that there is less ability to have any shenanigans in this kind of.
Yes. Yes.
But the bottom line being is, God's the one that sets all this up. So we're
Mhm.
just going to pray for safety tonight for this event,
Mhm.
and we're going to pray for God's hand to be on it,
Yeah.
and that we return back to God-based values, God-centered values in this country.
Yeah.
That's really what it boils down to, folks, because we are being targeted.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
are being demasculated in our society. There's a
Mhm.
lot of different ways that that's being done. Back in the day, it used to just be about psychological tactics.
Mhm.
Now it's even in our foods. It's
Yeah.
in our stuff that we consume as well on social media and other platforms.
Mhm.
Our smartphones really do suck out our brains and produce individuals, men and women, who place their value and their status and their being inside those smartphones, so
Mm.
that the ultimate control can then be foisted upon the human race, as it were.
Mhm.
Demasculization of men, the elevation of women, instead of the correct and honorable way, holding the power of creation. uh, Women only are to hold the power of leadership, and it's not
Mm.
supposed to be that way. Men and women are supposed to
Sure.
co-equal lead and
Yeah.
share.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, it's been snuck in step by step. I mean, they created a song, and he says something also. He says, up until the time of hip hop, usually like a musical style would come in, and then
Mhm.
another generation would come up, and then another musical style would come in, and but your
Right.
parents wouldn't really know. But this hip hop has lasted for 50 years, and
Here,
just
oh yeah,
just
it's a
grunge. He said
it's a
something.
multi-generational music
Yeah,
style.
but he said something of this, and I didn't think about this. He said a lot of men want to know how to be masculine, and so this puts up a fake image of masculinity, which masculinity is not going driving by, shooting people, and doing all
Right.
these kind of things, and selling drugs, but that's a fake masculinity. Masculinity is for you to be the protector of your family, for you to get out there and work and support your family.
Yeah.
Masculinity has nothing to do with selling drugs, killing people, shooting people, and beating people down. That has nothing to do with what a man is, and it's a distorted view. So the record industry saw, hey, there's a lot of money in this, so we're going to
Right.
keep this thing. So this hip hop thing, when other music genres will come and go, and then another one comes up, they have kept it going because it's a money maker. But a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
other countries are looking at it saying, oh, is that how to be a masculine? Well, we'll be a gangster too. So you got white boys, I want to be a hip hop guy. You got the black boys, Hispanic boy, thinking that, being a gangster is the way to be. And no, it's just these liberals, fashions, these banditos in the record company who don't really care about you, uh, trying just to put up this fake image of what masculinity is. And if you watch the movie Straight Out of Compton, when Eazy-E said, how do you think all these guns got in our neighborhoods? These drugs, we don't have a passport to go to another country bringing these drugs. It's the allegedly FBI bringing these things in, dropping it. But then to myself, I have to say, okay, they drop all these guns in your neighborhood. How come you don't bag them up, take them to downtown where the Capitol is, drop them off, drop the drugs off, and say, stop screwing with us. Here's your guns back. Here's your drugs back. We're going to develop our neighborhoods and not let these let what is drugs destroy our neighborhood. And the French, no, not the French, England, I think they introduced the RPOs over in China and destroyed like a lot of people. And that was one of the things the China government said, let's get the drugs out of our community. And like Trump says, if you're caught dealing drugs, selling drugs, they kill you. That's it.
Yeah.
You want to do that? You're gone. Because Trump says, how do you keep the drug out of your country? He says, hey, there's no tolerance. You're dead.
Yeah, the zero tolerance idea of crime, where crime should be looked at as just crime, as opposed to all these different delineations, of different crimes. It's interesting because when you look at the way that this is taking place, it's a big operation. There is that we are being, ultimately controlled by an adversary. I mean, this guy, he has control of all the world, but there is one who will never leave you or forsake you. His name is Yahweh, or the Lord Jesus Christ. He has empowered us with the Holy Ghost, which has been poured out on everybody at this point. Young men and women alike are being called to a different way of being, a way of morality, a way of sharing, a way of putting others first, loving each other as Christ loved the church. That's our motive and our way of operation as men. And then as women, the power of creation. This is why this stuff has been propagated, because, you have to attack the original institution in order to try to bring it down. And we just have to say no, and we have to press into what the Lord has for us, especially in these last days.
Yeah. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. We're going to send you off on a beautiful weekend.
Hey, one quick thing. We had a not really a costume contest, but just a contest where there were some presidents that we were talking about. Hey, there's a Star Trek episode. I've really got to bring up this Star Trek episode. It's interesting. Star Trek tells the future. If you don't believe me, check out. There's a bunch of YouTube videos on how Star Trek has told the future way back in 1966, 1967. Do you have your iPhone handy?
Yes, I do.
Okay, ask it this exact, as exact as you can, for the Star Trek episode about Abraham Lincoln.
What was the Star Trek episode that had Abraham Lincoln in it?
There's a method to my madness.
Hey, I found this on the web for Star Trek episode that had Abraham Lincoln. Check it out.
Okay, let's see.
The original series The Savage Curtain, TV episode 1969, IMDb, Kirk, Spock, Abraham Lincoln and Vulcan legend Surik are pitted in battle against notorious villains from history for the purpose of helping a conscious, IMDb.com.
There it is.
So all that to say, in this episode, back in 1969, so that was close to the end of the series, but Abraham Lincoln in this episode had mentioned a wrestling career that he had. Now, we've been running a contest for quite some time, dealing with presidents. We got
which one of our presidents was inducted in 1992 in the Hall of Fame of wrestling. I forgot what it's called, but and then we had the choice of John F. Kennedy, Obama, President Donald J. Trump, or Abraham Lincoln. And we said, hey, if you could pick out the one who did, then we will, send you off a T-shirt from Intervision if you're in the USA, right? And it's just surprising that people weren't getting it. They thought, a lot of people were saying Donald J. Trump, because he was a part of the wrestling, he would go in the ring and he would be announcers and stuff like that. And then some people say, well, because Obama was young, it was him. And they said, well, maybe we don't know something about John F. Kennedy. So yeah. So if you watch that episode of Star Trek, you got the whole weekend, you can answer that question.
That's right. It's actually pretty cool. Snopes did a really neat article refuting and debunking this. So this is going to be a really cool example of what they want us to think, how they want us to believe. And Abraham Lincoln, the reason why we bring this up is this guy was a man's man. He definitely was pretty toxic with his masculinity, according to today's standards. This guy taught himself how to read. This guy had broken the large bone in his leg at one point. I mean, this guy had married somebody who, well, you can take a look at what his wife, how things worked with that. But there was strife. There was definitely some tribulation going on, and Abraham Lincoln definitely knew how to deal with tribulation. And in some circles, he is almost looked at as a second father to our country, behind George Washington. And he did preside over the Civil War. So
yeah. Hey, and also, I may live stream our meeting at 6:00 this afternoon because now I got Zoom on my phone. I said, oh, let me test this out. So we might be on all the channels at about 6 p.m. tonight. So if you don't live in America, don't even live in United States, because a lot of people in other places, you might just see this on our live stream if I can get my hands on the Wi-Fi.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and on the notifications tab, set those notifications to all so that when you see us go live, you'll get a bell notification on that.
Yes, and I think that's it. Hey, we love you. Hey, paypal.me/InnovationDenver. Donate, be generous, and we'll see you next week. Have a fantastic weekend.
Don't forget to get out and vote.
Oh, yes.